Good evening. Welcome back to more Lord of the Rings LCG, and tonight is the Road to Isengard on Nightmare difficulty. This quest has always disappointed me a little bit because the best strategy has always seemed to be to just ignore the Ents of Fangorn entirely, which is not very thematic. The Ents of Fangorn are kind of hard to claim in solo play, and probably the strategy of grabbing the Ents makes a lot more sense in multiplayer. But in solo it isn't very practical. So I'm just investigating and strategizing to see how doable it's going to be to get one of the Ents. And let's get started. So the strategy here is just going to be to play a normal round and then move on to phase 2 after the first round. Pretty strong start here. Should be able to play everything. Plus very good tail. So, off to a very strong start. And we'll just quest for enough not to take any threat. If I had more experience with this quest, I probably could have claimed one of the Ents. So, we're going to go ahead and move to the location. Don't have to return, well, the wizardry effect isn't going to have any effect right now anyway. It's not a travel effect. It does take effect when the location leaves play, though. So no Ents. And Gates of Isengard is going to be the active location, which is going to return the other one to the staging area. It doesn't say that on the quest card, but that's the case in other quests, so I'm guessing that'll be the case. And Saruman and Orthanc are going to go to the staging area. So, can't travel to Orthanc in phase 2. We've got to explore 5 non-unique locations in order to advance to phase 3. Saruman can't leave the staging area, so we're not going to have much interaction with him in phase 2 unless a specific encounter card comes. We'll engage Isengard Orc. It's not a very formidable enemy, but it will do 1 archery damage. So, we can take him out. Move on to the next round and continue to get set up. This quest can be a bit long due to the need to clear 5 locations, 5 non-unique locations before moving on. Orthanc actually helps with that though, because when you quest successfully, you look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck, choose one and reveal it, and the other 2 get discarded, so you can continually choose the non-unique locations to reveal in order to make the task of clearing 5 non-unique locations easier. The wizardry effects are pretty thematic. However, the phase 2 tends to drag a little bit, especially if you don't have any Ents, and it is difficult to get Ents in single player, though I probably could have done it. It's not the optimal strategy, but I could have done it, I think. But in multiplayer, it's a much more viable strategy. And then you can use the Ents to help clear the locations. If you get 2 or more of them, that can speed things along a little bit. They don't make a huge difference. The difficulty of this quest certainly could have been altered so that it was absolutely essential to get the Ents, which would have perhaps been a little bit more thematic in line with the Two Towers book. That being said, I still do enjoy all of the Lord of the Rings saga quests, with relatively few exceptions. Journey to the Crossroads is not my favorite. So after having quested successfully, got to choose one of these cards to reveal, discard the other 2. Unfortunately, there's no non-unique locations there. And at this point I realize I have to discard the other 2, so I have to go find those cards I just shuffled into the deck and discard them. But no problem. Not being able to find a non-unique location, it won't matter unless I can't find another one again next round, and then it'll just delay the game by a round. I'm thinking about whether I want to engage that orc in the staging area, and I decide against it. And we'll go ahead and take that enemy out now. Or apparently not. Well, there's likely some reason why. Maybe the shadow card said this enemy can't take damage or something like that. I have racked my brain, and I really can't figure out a reason why I would leave that enemy alive. Must be something I was thinking. I don't think I would just forget about it. It's a mystery. But we've got a pretty strong setup here, so success is likely a matter of time, of just waiting for the locations, the non-unique locations, to come out. We can't clear them out of the staging area with this deck, so it's going to be a matter of exploring each one in turn. And now we're going to be looking at the top 3, choosing one of these non-unique locations and discarding the other 2 cards. And I'm going to grab Fortress of Isengard. It's at this point that I realized the wizardry effect should have triggered when the location was explored, so that's going to bring the top enemy in the discard pile back into the staging area. Going to be Orthanc Archer. It's added, not revealed, so I don't need to trigger the revealed effect. But I am going to optionally engage that enemy. It's got 3 archery to deal with. So we'll put 1 attack on Forlong. It's going to be 3 damage dealt among my characters. And 1 attack on Denethor, and there goes Steward of Gondor. There are a lot of Nightmare cards, a lot of Shadow cards in the Nightmare quest that get rid of Steward of Gondor. And just get rid of attachments in general. So now I'm going to take out the enemies. Really don't know why I didn't last turn. Probably there was some reason, but it could have just been that I forgot, I suppose. So with no Steward of Gondor, I do need the extra resources from Captain's Wisdom, and with this board setup, I probably won't need Denethor to defend anyway. So, got plenty of questing power. Should be able to clear this location out. And the encounter card is going to be Grima. So, need to check out the top 3. Trigger the wizardry effect when the location's explored. That's going to be returning the topmost enemy to the staging area, and we're going to choose this non-unique location's theming vent, and then go ahead and move there. So, going to optionally engage Orthanc Archer. I'd love to get the other enemies out of the staging area too, but my threat is too low. I can only optionally engage 1 enemy each round. So attacking enemy gets +1. That's just going to deal 1 damage to Forlong. And then Grima is going to attack, and then he gets shuffled back into the encounter deck after. And reveal an encounter card, which is an Underground Armory. I'm not too sad about that. And then we'll take out the archer. So we got our 3rd Ethir Swordsman, a 3rd Warrior of Lossarnach. When you get to this point, in most quests, the outcome is not going to be in question. There's a few that can really hammer you for playing a lot of allies, and I don't know this quest well enough to know if that's the case or not. Some of the quests have a location that adds 1 threat per ally, or something that blanks all the allies' text boxes, like in Helm's Deep. So we'd just be questing here with enough to clear the active location. And then we've got to take a look at the top 3 again and choose 1, discard the other 2. Probably still going to be looking for a location just because they're relatively mild cards. The wizardry effect is assigning damage among characters, but not too much. All three of the cards are locations, so we'll just choose the one that seems the mildest. The 2-threat one that has an effect after damage is healed seems fine because I don't have any healing in this deck. Go ahead and move to the Underground Armory. We've got 3 locations explored now. 1 active and 1 in the staging area, so that'll be the last 2 that we need. Attack is considered undefended. Well, that's okay. Won't kill anybody. Though the next one like that will. So if the shadow card had a wizardry effect, then this enemy would have made another attack. No problem taking out these enemies. I got plenty of combat power, even though I only have 1 Knight of the Swan at the moment. Well, this is actually a collection of junk here with this Heed the Dream. So I'll probably, just grab gaining strength. Given that I don't have Steward of Gondor anymore, the extra resources, that Wealth of Gondor should have gone on Denethor, not Hirluin. Hirluin is not currently a Gondor character. He is only a Gondor character when he's got Steward of Gondor on. So we'll make enough progress to clear the location and take a look at the top 3 of the deck. We'll just take Plains of Isengard. Archery damage must be assigned to allies if possible. That's no problem. It's probably what I would have done anyway. And we can engage the last 2 enemies in the staging area. Finally get the staging area cleared out. That half-orc of Isengard discards a card from hand, or he would get +3 attack power, which wouldn't be that big of a deal. But as long as there is a card to discard from hand, might as well, because it's going to get discarded at the end of the round anyway. So next round we'll clear the location and move on to phase 3. And deal with Saruman. Should be 1 less resource on Hirluin and 1 more on Denethor, but with a good harvest in hand, that would not matter at all. So just quest for enough to clear this last location. Damaged characters cannot be readied by player card effects, no problem. And once more, we've got to take a look at the top 3 cards of the encounter deck. Each player draws 6 cards. Each player with more than 6 discards until he has only 6 and attach Saruman's staff to Saruman. Now this part of the quest is a little tricky because if you ever have 0 cards in your hand, you lose the game. And Erestor discards all the cards from hand at the end of the round. So, in order to avoid losing the game, Erestor has got to die here. And in order for that to happen, we have to move to Orthanc so that Saruman is considered engaged with the first player. And then he can attack and kill Erestor. And we will not lose. There are one or two quests where it's necessary when playing this deck to have Erestor killed off to avoid going out of cards. So this is the last time I need to, well, probably not the last time, but I can move to Orthanc now, and Saruman will be engaged. And he's going to attack, and he'll attack Erestor. Wouldn't normally move to Orthanc immediately with a lot of other decks. But with this one I needed to because I needed Saruman to kill Erestor. Wouldn't normally move to Orthanc right away with most decks. Just this one. Most decks you make your 15 progress, then you move to Orthanc, then you max out Saruman's hit points, and then you win. Attacking enemy gets +1 if this attack destroys a character. Return enemy to the staging area. He's already there and he can't leave the staging area. So with Erestor dead, now I don't discard all the cards in my hand at the end of the round, which is good because if I did, I would lose. So I'll go ahead and max out Saruman's wounds, but he can't be killed, and after I draw a card he's going to heal a damage, so it doesn't matter too much to do that, but might as well. So when I draw a card for next round, Saruman is going to make an attack with 2 shadow cards, and he's going to heal 1 damage. And there's a wizardry effect, so it's going to discard 1 card from hand randomly, which is no problem. And he heals 1 damage, so also not really that big of a deal. So it doesn't really matter how much progress I make here as long as I make enough to clear Orthanc. When Orthanc is the active location, if you clear it, you move it back to the staging area, you cancel all the other progress that you would have made this round. So you can't clear the main quest while Orthanc is the active location. You've got to make your progress on the quest first, then move to Orthanc and deal with Saruman. The only reason that I moved to Orthanc first was so that Saruman could kill Erestor and I wouldn't lose. When I started playing this quest, I really didn't remember that that would happen at the end of the game. I might not have chosen Outlands if I had. And I was about to call it a loss until I remembered, oh, I could just have Erestor killed off. And then I can keep the cards in my hand. And with this board set up, not that big of a deal. So we're going to quest here for enough to make the 15 progress and clear the active location. It's going to be assign some damage. And that's going to have a wizardry effect of 2 damage. which I think I forget about, but I've got plenty of places to put it. Have to do Orthancs, discard 3, or look at 3, choose 1, discard 2, one more time. And then we've got Saruman attacking from the staging area. And we've got going to engage that half-orc. He's not in the staging area. I need to engage him. So Saruman, once again, does not get a wizardry effect, which is nice. And then I can just go ahead and max out his hit points and end the game. I like that confrontation with Saruman there at the end of the quest. That is my favorite part of the quest. I forgot to place 2 damage for one of the wizardry effects, but no problem. Plenty of places to put that. Could have really put it anywhere. The only reason I was being careful about not putting damage on my allies early in the game was because I had in my mind Devilry of Saruman from the Helm's Deep quest, and I wasn't sure what kind of ally punishment effects this encounter deck might have. But I don't think there was any need to do that. I'm still not sure. In any case, I like the last part of this quest. The middle can drag a little bit, but the confrontation with Saruman I like a lot. So, thank you for watching.